Happy Friday and welcome to the Lazy Redhead. And if you don't know,
I am the Lazy Redhead.
Today, cheap ink is the shizzle is almost like an homage to, I think, Ink is the Shizzle. I think that's what the video is called, this video. It's one of my best performing videos. I'm actually doing a second one because I want to concentrate on trying to find the cheapest and best performing acrylic inks. I say acrylic inks, I really should change that. Because one of the inks that I'm going to be demoing for you today is actually Indian ink. So I'm just going to go with ink. I've got 3 inks to show you, all under £20, boxes, like sets of them, and you'll be surprised by the results. I will give you a bit of a hint though.
I love all of them.
What you're going to get is I'm going to swatch them out for you. I'm going to trial and test all 3 inks on a watercolor paper because I want to see how they fare with a more premium paper. And we're also going to be creating some grounds and using them as if I was doing any other studio session. In my original video, Inks Are The Shizzle, something like that, I did state that inks are just so sassy. They kind of have a mind of their own. My opinion on that has not changed. They really do. They just kind of hit the page. Sometimes they suck right into the page depending on the paper you put them on. Other times they kind of, you know, roll over, collect pools of moisture and just start spreading and mixing. The best thing about them also is that they change as they dry. You don't put them down and they stay there whilst they're drying. Certainly if it's like pools of moisture, they just do what they want, which helps me greatly because it feels almost like I'm collaborating with my art materials rather than crowbarring them. I like conceptualizing and then letting the materials kind of guide me through that conceptualization. Ink is just brilliant for it. And I can honestly say I will never be without ink, ever. But one thing I will say is that ink is probably one of the most expensive art materials. I think it's like Dr. Phil, there's Amsterdam, all those. I mean, there's Schmidt's, I think it's called Schmitz.
Schmitz.
So you get some really expensive inks. Most of my inks are the Essential range by Daler-Rowney, the FW by Daler-Rowney, a bit of Amsterdam, a tiny bit of Dr. Phil because it's got that watery quality, Liquitex, a lot of Liquitex acrylic inks, and one brand that I'm in love with is Winsor & Newton. They're more like an Indian ink, like a drawing ink, and it's because of their watery, transparent quality. The milkiest ink that I've used actually is the Artist ink. It's a much cheaper ink. I think it's like £3.95 from like Casa or Jackson Art, I can't remember now, but they're quite they're the cheapest of all of the premium inks that I work with. All of them are light fast. The 3 inks I'm going to show you today range from like £1 something a bottle, all told. They do come in packs. None of them are advertised as light fast. That's my only stipulation. But the reason I advocate for cheaper art materials isn't because I always sit down. I never really sit down to create an artwork that I'm going to sell. You know, I honestly do sit down in my studio to work on a body of work, conceptualize, come up with ideas that I've had in my head, figure out how the narrative is going to come together, and that's basically how I create my bodies of work. They are very much a story. They're passages in my life. I like to just practice art. It's never like, oh, I'm going to create a piece I'm going to sell. If you practice that same way, finding cheaper alternative materials that behave the same way as your premium but won't break the bank. That's what we need. We need a bucket of materials that are cheap and cheerful, but the behaviors are going to simulate those that are premium and that you would create with in order to sell more substantial pieces. This is why I'm a huge advocate for cheap art materials. Anyway, without further ado, I'll introduce 3 brands that I found that are within what I call cheap and cheerful, and I'm telling you now, they're amazing. I will be using the Art Creations sketchbook. I am going to start with the cheapest. No, I lied. I'm actually going to start with the most expensive. Now I've broken this down into per bottle because the cheapest box was I think this box, the Royal Langnickel something. Anyway, that was the cheapest box at £14.46. Then we go down into two other boxes. So you've got Mont and Liquidraw. They were both £16.99. However, this has 10 bottles in, 35 mils at £16.99, which makes it £1.70 a bottle. That's the cheapest. Then we go up to you, which is £2.41 a bottle. And then the most expensive is Mont at £2.83 a bottle. This bad boy is what we're going to be starting with. So just a bit about Marte. Okay, so they advertise this for airbrushing, pouring, drawing and mixed media. They are permanent and water resistant inks, which is relevant with all of these. They did get a 4.5 rating on Amazon and there was 215 reviewers. There wasn't really much negative other than they said the white was weak. I can't see whether it's light fast or not. I'm going to go forward and assume that they're not, and the reason is because that is a huge selling point for any art material. So if it's not light fast, it's, you know, they won't tell you whether it is or isn't, you know, because it seems detrimental to the brand. I can't see why, because it is bloody relevant, isn't it? Anyway, we will start with yellow and then we will mix the ink, white ink in. So it does have a pipette. I do it there. I'll also be seeing if it bleeds through, but that's more for the sketchbook rather than the material. It's very watery, which I'm fine with. I'm not really enamoured, but the pigments seem quite vibrant. Oh no, I thought the pipette head. Oh, I love a blue. The colours are actually really, really lovely. I'll get a bit of black and a bit of white. So they are very watery. I don't mind that so much. Don't mind, that green is absolutely lovely actually. And that blue is as well. Oh, love it. Right, I'll take a tiny bit of black and pop it there. Ooh, because you know I love making. Oh, that's absolutely black, isn't it? That is indeed black. Okay. There we go. The review said that the white was fairly weak, so I'll be interested. Oh, no, it's not too bad. I mean, I've had worse. I've had worse. The black is definitely nice, but it does make a good green, so can't complain. No, the sketchbook is holding out pretty well. Well done, sketchbook. I need to write down what that one is. So this is Mont. I think that's how you say it. Lord only knows. So that one, positive. Put you to one side. The next on our list is the Royal Langnickel. Everything the above, airbrushing, pouring, drawing, mixed media. They also are permanent and water resistant. I think, yeah, permanent water resistant, non-clogging, acrylic base, pigmented ink, sorry. Great for painting, pouring, drawing, staining, glazing, inking, hand lettering, spraying, and more. And probably goes on a multitude of surfaces, so there we go. It reviewed 4.6 on Amazon, however, it only had 7 reviews. So these are bigger bottles at 30 milliliter, whereas they're 20. The Mont 20 milliliter. But the bottles seem really nice. These bottles are glass, and they are very pretty. Oh. I like the way these have dried as well. Now that could be the paper, as you know. I've gone for primary because I want to mix them. I just thought, right, well, you know, get a primary bunch, can mix them. The other bottles, by the way, were plastic. They're okay, but they are a little bit weak, so I wouldn't be heavy-handed with them. But these ones are nice. These ones, big, chunky glass. I'll be definitely keeping these when I've run out. Defo. Because these are nice. Get a lot for your money out of these ones. 30 milliliter. Do you know what I mean? Let's mix these bad boys in. Okay, a little bit thicker than the other ones. Yep. Oh, that one's nice. Yeah, a lot thicker than the other ones. The green is more like an emerald green than this, so I prefer that green. To be fair, it's more of like a leaf green, and the white was accused of being quite weak in this one as well, and I could see what they mean actually. My thing is full of, yeah, I mean, it's very, very milky. I don't know what good that's gonna do. It does mix into nice colours. Yeah, the ink is extremely milky. Actually, the white one is pretty shit, to be fair, but I suppose I could use something for that. I might even use it just for mixing. I think I could mix a nice colour with that. And the black, let's see what the black is like. Black is always pretty good. Well, that one really has sunk in, hasn't it, that one? Oh, that one's black, isn't it? That one's nice. Having quite an adverse effect too. Oh, and they've gone straight through. Jesus. Okay, what ones are those ones? They are, I'll just put Royal. I'll know what they are. The next one, Liquidraw. Now, these are Indian ink. But the reason I got them, and I suppose I shouldn't really have gotten them for an acrylic ink, a cheap acrylic ink situation. But the reason I got them is because they are waterproof. And you know I love a waterproof. Then when I did some digging, it actually states that some pigments are waterproof. And then not all pigments are waterproof, which really grated my cheese hole. But then I remembered it was £1.70 a bottle at 35 millilitres, and there's 10 of them. So, and they do compact really beautifully. Now, I can't remember whether all Indian inks are light fast or not. Did some digging and still are none the wiser. But just a little bit about these. They are being advertised as sort of multi-use, but specifically towards calligraphy. They come up at 4.7 reviews on Amazon. There's 178 reviews, and everyone on the comments list is asking whether they are light fast, and they have had no comment from the seller. So I'm assuming not, maybe because they can't verify it, or they don't want to be seen to be telling people what their brand can't do. But it is a relevant question. Again, if you're going to advertise them to artists, those artists are going to want to know. Otherwise they just won't risk it for a biscuit, you know. At least if they know, and let's say it's not light fast and those artists want to just use them for sketchbook stuff, then, you know, they'll use them for sketchbook stuff. But you're still going to get purchases, but they're not going to, well, I don't know actually, because we try and get cheap stuff, don't we? And they are so reasonable. I had these on my Amazon list for literally months and months, with the idea of doing a cheap ink video, because I bloody love ink. Love pencils, love ink. Wow, these just keep going, don't they? Keep going. They have a brown as well. And it does come with a pipette rather than a one in the lid. Okay, let's go, maestro. We'll go with the yellows first. Why not? And I'm not going to bother with the pipette. Oh, they come with things as well. Oh my god. I'm not going to bother with the pipette. I'm just going to go in with my brush, which I don't mind. Ooh, oh, they do feel lovely. That is insane. They are going to eat through. I can already tell. They're going to eat through this sketchbook like a bitch. Hang on. Sniff test. Wow. That smell is insane. Okay, guys, that smells really, really strong. Like cleaning fluid, alcohol, something. But yeah, they're going to eat through that. Yeah, already. Jesus. Okay, well, that's fine. I'm not bothered. Not bothered in the slightest. They're going to be great for... Oh, that's a nice colour. These are going to be just great for bumming around in. Do you know what I mean? I'm not really worried about it eating through the sketchbook. I could just cover it up. But these are looking good, guys. Oh, I keep forgetting there's that bloody thing there. Oh, it's so annoying. Like we've got time for that. Oh, that's a nice orange. That's very on brand, guys. I'm so delighted I decided to do this video. This is making me so bloody happy. Right, this red hopefully is red. Oh, and it is red. I'm intrigued to know how they dry. Now, I will be doing them on different papers because obviously this paper is not the best, actually, when I think about it. I should have really started with a heavy-duty watercolor paper, given them the best chance. I'm most intrigued by this brown, and I don't know why. That's a nice brown. Okay, let's go for a bit of greenage. Now, I think this is more like an emerald green. Does it have nice names? Just green. Brilliant. Doesn't have nice names. Yeah, lemon yellow, yellow, orange, red and brown. Yeah, they haven't really been creative with the old names. So that's nice. That is a nice green though. But again, I still prefer the Mont green. That one's a nice, nice green. Okay, and it doesn't come with a white this set, which is okay. Oh, that's a nice blue, that. I think I mixed a bit of the green in. Oops, that's fine. Okay, let's go for this violet. You know I love a violet. Oh, we've had a bit of a mishap with that one. That one has leaked a little bit. Hasn't been on. That's okay. It's still loads in there. Oh, see, that sucks right in. Did you see the way that went in straight away? That is insane. I've got to do that again. Okay, it doesn't dry the nicest. Doesn't seem to keep their pigment really well. I mean, it's cheap ink at the end of the day. And if you're mixed media like me, you're probably going to go over it anyway. These do literally dry just instantly. We better make sure the lids are on then, huh? Oh, oh. Oh, nice. I'm sure we could mix them, but we'd have to mix them on like a ceramic plate or something, plastic, something like that, because if you try, sorry, my dog is going mental. Winnie! If you try and mix them on paper, they are just going to suck into the paper and you're never going to see them again. They didn't go through as much as I thought they would, which is very good. I'm just going to put Liquidraw here. They are delicious. I think the worst is definitely those bad boys. The Royal, look at that, Jesus. These ones don't be too bad. Oh no, give them a minute. They start to come through, but not as bad as I thought they were going to be. I thought they were just going to be on the other side, done. Okay, I'm going to get set up for something else, and I'll see you in a second. I just want to do a quick swatch of each of the inks onto watercolor paper. This is 200 GSM by Moleskine. This is a Moleskine sketchbook. So let's go with, start in the order. I can't remember which order we did it in. Was it these? It was these first, wasn't it? Mont. This is the Royal Professional. And then this is the Liquidraw, which we'll need to plonk. Okay, so cool. I'll also do a watery version of it just there. Okay. I do love ink. I love it so much. Oh, wow. I want to know how it dries. I want to know if it seeps into the next stage. The reason I'm doing like a more saturated version is because I want to see how it reacts with this paper. This is probably the best paper I work with, okay? I need a pen. Mont. Okay, this was Royal and this was Liquidraw. First impressions. I like them all, but for different reasons. Does that make sense? I love that one because of its wishy-washiness. I love this one because of its thickness. It's very thick, is the Royal Langnickel. Weirdly enough, this is obviously not an acrylic ink, so it is going to react different. So I'm not comparing them with these two, but it's much more dull than the rest, but it does give off a different type of hue. They don't go through the 200 GSM watercolor paper, so that is very, very good. So far, so good. What I do like though is that I like all three ranges for different reasons, which means I will get use out of all of them for different reasons. Love it. Okay, so now we've swatched the shiz out of them as well as tried them on the watercolor Moleskine. That is the best paper that I work with, and it is just delightful to know that we have a sketchbook that we can use whereby some of the more kind of like robust inks still won't seep through. Now though, what we're going to do, we're going to trial them out in a studio setting. A purely my studio setting, I might add. Now how I use inks usually is I create grounds with them. I let them dry and then I work on top of them in another medium. For example, oil pastel, Neo 2s, pencils, maybe paint, some acrylic paint I might use. I might go in with more ink. The idea is to create that initial ground and see where it takes me. That is why ink is just like one of the most important layers that I put on my work. I make a rule, do not come to the studio with a very specific idea. I can come with a notion, I can say, right, this is the type of colour or this is the sort of composition I want to work with, but I've tried my hardest, and it is taken years of practice actually to try not to preempt what it's going to look like, because it never works out as you imagine, and you get so disappointed and disheartened so fast. Because ink is so unruly, a lot of that is taken out of my control. So I know that despite how hard I try, the ink is going to do what the hell it likes. I can manage it with the amount of water I use and the dilution and the brush size. Obviously we can still regain a lot of control with ink, but I use them with the intention of almost helping them be disobedient, essentially. So the first layer is always the most essential. So what we're going to do now is I'm going to create those grounds, and then I'm going to go on to work on top of them, and then I'm going to meet you back here for a wrap up. What I'm going to do is I'm going to create a ground with all three inks. So I'm going to just use them as I normally would, and then I'll work on top of it with my normal materials, and that is a mix of Neo 2s, oil pastels, pencils, and just see how I get on with them, just in terms of their consistency. I need something to mix with, don't I? I'll just mix on the paper. The paper is cheap paper. I'm not really worried about that so much. Let's go with a dark sky. Let's go with a dark sky. I'm going to go with a tiny bit of black. I'm just going to use them how I normally would. Use the likes of like Liquitex, Daleroni, that kind of thing. Premium stuff, premium. I'll just darken it right up. Okay, that will do. Green. So this is my favourite green, if I remember. I did the swatch the other day. Oh yes, it is. It is. It's everything I want and more. Love, love, love. Oh no, not so bad. Not too bad. Okay, so I'm going to put a bit of red in, but oh wow. Oh wow. Oh, that's so nice. I'm going to see how that goes, actually. I'm not going to touch that. Sorry. I know that was probably a bit of an anticlimax, but this is just how it is. I'm also going to put some stars in the sky. I like the fact that it's a weaker, milkier, weaker white. Amsterdam does, which I love, is it will touch it, but it blob and it leaves quite an indelible mark. But let's see if we can actually make a bit of a pink here. No, not really. Not really. suppose so. It's not really, get rid of that. That's really beautiful, and I don't know why. I'm going to let that dry. Maybe I'll put some green, more green. Oh, I love just playing. And this is why I love ink. Ink is the shizzle. Leave it like that. Let's not overwork it. And we'll keep that vibrancy of that red. Okay, now I've got to try and get it off here without ruining the stuff. Okay, that seems to have worked. Right. I need a drying area, so I'm going to sort that out. Should have already sorted that out before, but you know, I'm useless. Okay, we got ourselves sorted. We are now on to the Royal Lilla. So the white we know is fairly piss poor. What I'm probably going to do here is I'm going to do a daytime sky, bit of yellow in there. And I'm probably going to go, obviously, a lot of white. Let's see how piss poor it is, shall we? I can already tell how piss poor it is. It's just so weak. Yeah, it's very, very weak, actually. But I think a yellow sky would be nice. Weaken that out with a bit of water. I don't know if I like that sky now. Oh no, we'll go with it. We'll go with it. We'll go with it. Right. What colour is this? Oh, it says shake. Well, that's quite cute. It doesn't actually have names on it. Oh. This is their green. Don't really like, but if I pop it with a bit of red, it might muddy it up a bit. Oh, that's muddied it way too much, haven't I? It's going to be an interesting one to use as a ground. Not the sort of colours I would use put together. It'll be a task. It'll be good. Okay, that is quite a unique. Yes, very unique. It's like when you splatter this on. This is one of my techniques that I love to do. That is quite nice, actually. A bit different with the darker mark in the middle there, but it's not something I've ever done before, but it's not as saturated with water as the first one, so this one's going to be easier to move. Okay, and last, but by no means least, we have the Liquidraw. So I'll just clean up and I'll be back. Okay, so the good thing is we have a lot more to choose from in terms of colours. Probably going to do a nighttime scene again because I'm ridiculous, but I'm probably going to do it as like a triptych situation. The other thing to mention is obviously, actually I'm going to get a pipette. I'll get a pipette. These are Indian inks. They're not acrylic inks, so they're going to act very differently to an acrylic ink. Oh, that's nice. Okay, that's going to be quite a nice array of colours for the sky. Big brush. Trick is lots of water. Distribute the happiness evenly. Indian ink is also going to sink into the paper in a very different way. And this is obviously cheap paper, so, you know, bear that in mind. Okay, now we want... Cool. Try not to move the ink around too much. The reason is because it will start mixing and I want to keep that pure pigment as much as possible. But I'm a messy painter. This one's lovely. This one's just, oh, yes, look at that. I'm trying to get as many colours in this as possible. This is just going to be beautiful. I also like the effect of how it's eaten into the paper and it's created like these scratch marks. Some people would just absolutely detest that. See, we don't have a white with this, do we? So maybe see if this one, I think this one's a bit too dark. Yeah, it's a bit too dark in there, but it's thicker than the lighter yellow. Let's see how this brown fares. Oh. Okay, I'm going to leave that one there. So what we want to do now is we want to dry all three pieces, and then once they're dry we can obviously start working on top of them with other mediums like I would normally. Okay. Okay, I'm going to start with the Royal Langnickel. We did do the Mont first, but the Mont was more saturated than any of them, and that still hasn't dried. So rather than waiting around to do it in order, I thought I would just jump right in. I'm feeling oil pastels right now. Right, I'm just going to do a bit of swatching on here. It's not really the colours we want. More these really, isn't it? No, that's not really the colour we want. How about this? Yeah, that's more the colour we want. It's dried really well. It's I think this one might be in the running to becoming my favourite. Let's go for more of a tealy type colour. Get some purples in there actually, because there's nice purplage in there. I want to emphasise those marks, that colour really, sorry, not the marks, the colour. So I think it goes really lovely with the yellow sky. Maybe some ochres, some dark yellows. Need it to be a bit more gummier. Oh, that's quite nice actually. It's actually a gold or a bronze, I think. White is always a really good one. Not be a fan of that one. Nah, gross. What's this one? Pinks. It's nice. Okay. I like to keep this space open to kind of show the water, you know. I think that's show you what I mean. So, you know, you've got the 3D, the rays textured from the oil pastel, and then this water. That is just so exciting. Maybe it's just me. It's little things like that this is the thing, right? When I do any piece like this, I try and avoid kind of going, right, it needs to be like this, it needs to be like that, because I just find that way too restrictive. I really just want to see where it all goes, where it takes me. I don't want to feel like, you know, I've already made a decision. Let's see what these greens are about. I don't know if that's the type of green I want to have involved in this piece actually. That's nice. Maybe a bit actually, that'd be quite nice. There's one piece done. There's something quite Monet about it. I think it might be the colours, like a weird deconstructed cheap version of the lilies. One thing I am going to do is see if I can try and cover up this edge with some oil pastels though. Yeah, I love that. Next! Okay, what one was that one? The other one's still not dry. What one is that one? The Montmartre's still not dry, so we moved on to the Indian ink, and actually it has gone through quite a bit. But it doesn't matter, does it? Does it really matter? It does matter if you're doing it in a sketchbook, if you're doing it in like a Royal Talons, potentially a Ranger sketchbook, or a 165 GSM Moleskine. You might want to, you know, worry that the next pages, make sure you don't need the next pages. Other than that though, it's just really beautiful. The textures are just so nice, like this splattery, and I love the wateriness. So I'm going to try and keep the wateriness in the top. I'm probably going to continue with the oil pastel because that's my fave at the moment. What's this colour? I'm just going to do some dottage, like a field. Do you know what I mean? That's what I've been seeing lately, is the fields just filled with different wild like flowers, and oh, it's just so, and when the field's quite big, you just see bits of them, oh, it's just the most beautiful thing ever, isn't it? So that's what I'm doing. I need some pinks. not really come up, is it? Chunkier the better, really. Okay, we need something a bit different. It's giving me coral. I need maybe some dirty greens. Dirty green. Dirty greens. Yeah, dirty greens is going to do. Mush out some of that blue. It's giving me coral. That's the only thing. I need to just... Okay, that's fine. What about this green? Oh, yeah, nice. We need something in the background. It is bright enough. It is bright enough to... Just something different, unusual. It's missing something, isn't it? Oh. Maybe a darker blue. See if we can go for a dark green. Still not there. What about yellow? I think we're overworking it. A bit. Oh yeah, so here we go. This is going to save it. This is going to save it. See, that's the thing with oil pastel, the way I use them. They become more like modelling clay. Nice. Just do a blob up there. Wicked. Yep, I love that. Love, love, love. So that is chunky. And I absolutely adore the sky in that Indian ink. Next. Okay. The Mont is finally dried, and yeah, I think it's sure it has. I think there's a bit of wet there. That's fine. I think it's quite it's like a stormy day, that one. Let's not disappoint, shall we? Shall we ramp up those reds, I think? It's the only thing we can do, really. Make it a stormy day. Shit, I've just got literally stuff everywhere. I love doing this so much. And this is why ink is just so amazing. You know, it's just... You can create the most beautiful grounds and you can put anything you want over it. You know, anything you absolutely want will go over ink. Love it. Absolutely love it. I want to feed into that stormy narrative. Like there's winds, there's gusts of winds. That one goes nice with the red. Brings out different tones of that red. I like that. Ooh, I just love my job so much. That one's nice. Right, let's see if we can get some too light. I want some dark blues. There we go. What's these? Yeah. Yeah, nice. We need some no, we need some U. I understand it's probably not the most traditional cheap ink, but oh, sugar lumps. If you like working in ink the way I do, maybe you might get a lot more out of this video. But this is what it's about, you know. This is how I use ink. This is how I will test all inks against its, you know, self and other materials. This is how it would be. I'm gonna get a white in there though, just to fill out this sky a bit. Now, do I want a moon? That's the question. This is a piece that you don't want to overdo. I'm quite happy with it being so stormy, and I like the fact that I can still see characters of the ink that I love the most, you know? I can still see the ink and I don't want to lose that quality. That's some absolutely perfect. I need it to really pack a punch, so yep, that'll do. That will do. Leave it. Leave it. And Mont is done. Oh, I'll take that off. Perfect. I'm going to clean up here and we're going to come back and do kind of summarize. I never imagined that I would get the 3 pieces done. Obviously, I wanted to ensure that I got 3 works done, and I did it. The one that I was most concerned about, which was this one with the yellow sky, is probably one of my favorites actually. I'm really quite delighted with that. Sorry about the shininess, it's just the spray that I've got to keep the oil pastel in place is gloss, don't ask. I was most concerned about this one actually, but I'm not. I'm really delighted, and this was the Royal. Now I loved the Royal because of its thickness. It's very thick. Bottles are quite large and they're so useful, so I'm going to get a lot of use not only out the bottles when I finish that ink, but the ink is very, it's got that a sense of transparency to it, but the ink itself is still thick, although that white is piss poor. Terrible. What I'll probably do with that white is create a predominant colour I use. So for example, like one of my tree pinks or my green greys, I'll just put rest of the colours in that white and make it into something useful rather than trying to crowbar it into a white. I'm sorry, but you can't get better than the Amsterdam white. That is my favourite white ink, by the way. One that I thought was not going to work, one of my favourites. It's always the way. This one I thought I had chuffed up royally, although I loved the lay down of the ink originally. You can see that it has gone straight through to the other side, but I think I saved it. I think I really did save it with the ochre. I saved it with the ochre, I feel, but that is so chunky and delightful. I love the juxtaposition of the flat plane. I know this is obviously very watery, but you can still see that it's quite flat in texture against some of that chunkadiness of the oil pastel. That's what I'm heading for right now. That's very much akin to the ideas I've got. I want to really whack out the chunkiness and really like create wide gaps of texture. And last but not least, our itty bitty storm. So I love this. Look at this. Look at the contrast in that. Is perfect. Now, had these splashes been in a different colour, I would have made them into like a row of trees. That's something that I was umming and ahhing about, because it's blue, it almost just looks like, I mean, it could still read as a row of trees, but I love the playfulness and the movement of it and the chunkadiness. Again, that really intense contrast of textures. I'm just really excited about this body of work, I'll be honest. I'm going to be getting some big, massive pieces of paper to facilitate this new body of work when we get into the new studio. I might even have a tiddle-taddle with them at the moment, but they're very, very much going to be a huge focus, I think. Probably going to do one of my largest works, I think, and that includes the commission. But it's very much part of the journey I'm on, the creative journey I'm on at the moment. I'm going to need a lot of ink. And I don't necessarily have the funds to invest in the likes of Liquitex and Daler-Rowney, do I? So reaching for cheaper alternatives is always going to be something that I will 100% advocate. Bloody love it. The 3 sets of inks will be linked over on my website on my favourite art supply. The favourite art supply link is linked in the description box below, and it will be the first box at the top of my favourite art supply entitled Cheap Ink Is The Shizzle. You won't be able to miss it, trust me. If you haven't already, just subscribe. Come on, it's free. It's free. Just that button, click, click. Love you guys. Mwah.